Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Islander ISL 248 Port Jefferson with the Miyota 9075 movement. Let's start with the wrist check. I'm wearing this Tandorio homage to a Tudor Black Bay Pro, and this one has the Seiko NH34, which is the other GMT movement. And Grego is wearing my Militado ML08. Grego asked me why Mark of Island Watch called this watch the Port Jefferson. I said because the price is moving on up. All right, let's get the watch open. It comes in this Islander box. Every Islander I've ever reviewed it's come in the exact same box. It's pretty simple, but it does the job and it keeps the cost down. You don't want to spend a lot of money on a fancy box, do you? And here is the watch. Isn't this a nice looking watch? This watch is great. This is one of the best watches I've ever reviewed. I'm really happy with it. And once again, this has the Miyota 9075 true Traveler's GMT movement. Watch this. See, I can just move the hour hand. Isn't that cool? This is the fourth Islander on my channel. This watch was sent at my request from Island Watch for review purposes. I do have to send it back. The reason I requested this watch is because it features the relatively new Miyota 9075 Traveler's GMT movement. Although this movement is rather expensive for a Miyota, it is by far the most affordable option for an automatic Traveler's GMT. Traveler's GMT means that the hour hand can be changed without hacking the movement, so time zone differences can be handled easily when traveling. Before the 9075, about the most affordable Traveler's GMT watch was the Miyota Ocean Star, which costs about twice as much as this $579 Islander. Mark also calls us the skin diver, meaning that it does not have the 200 meters of an actual diver. And although the bezel can be used for timing, it is bidirectional, which is great for tracking a third time zone, but does not have the safety of a unidirectional for timing dives. When it comes to colorways, Islander has a different reference number for each color. If you want a white dial with a black bezel, there's the ISL 245. This white dial is not fully lumed. If you want a black dial with a burgundy bezel, there's the ISL 246. If green is your thing, there's the ISL 247. If you're tired of the same old, there is the maroon ISL 249. The Beads of Rice bracelet is the only bracelet option. The watch is 39.8 millimeters at the bezel, 47.7 millimeters lug to lug with inverted end links. It's 13.4 millimeters thick, including this dome crystal. Has a 20 millimeter lug width, and it tapers down to 18 at the clasp. And weighs 154 grams on the supplied bracelet with 2 links removed. The bezel is 120 click, but it's bidirectional because this is a GMT watch primarily. So you can use this bezel to track a third time zone. So technically GMT watches should be bidirectional, but many of them are unidirectional because they share parts with their dive watch counterparts. So it's always nice when a GMT watch has a bidirectional bezel. It is an aluminum bezel and it's fully lumed. And you'll see later in the lume test. And it has two different colors. It has a dark blue here and a lighter blue on the bottom. And then we have the dial. The dial is flat, but look at that. It has kind of a gradient effect to it. Not a huge one, but it seems to be darker towards the edges than the middle. And then we have the chapter ring. The chapter ring does have 24-hour markers too. And look at this. Where the bezel has a dot, the chapter ring has a number. So that's kind of nice. So you get all 24 numbers other than the 12, of course. But they are very small and they're hard to see. But still, that means when you use your bezel to track a third time zone, you can still use the chapter ring for setting the GMT hand. Or reading the GMT hand, I should say. And then we have the minute markers. The minute markers I'm not happy with them because they're so busy. And if you look really close, it's really hard to distinguish where the minute is and the half minutes are. And with my eyes, it's really hard to tell. So I really wish that they would have left out the half minutes and just left the minutes, or at least made the full minute markers a little bit longer so you could tell. It just makes setting the watch a little hard. And I guess if I was 20 something and my eyes were a lot better, I probably wouldn't care. But now that I'm in my 50s, I do care. And then we have the indices. As you can see, the indices look like kind of like tuning forks. And they are fully loomed. And then we have the hands. And as you can see, the hands are rectangular. They're squared off at the ends. And then we have the second hand, which has a rectangle tip instead of a lollipop. But we do have a triangle for the GMT hand, and it is loomed also. Then we have the Islander name and logo up top, and that's loomed too. Let me get this minute hand out of the way, and I'll show you the bottom. It says GMT automatic 150 meters. You do not get the full 200 meters of a dive style watch. That's one of the reasons why they call this a skin diver. Then on the bottom at the 6, we have a color matched date. I always like dates at the 6, and color matched is a bonus. I think that looks a lot better than if it was white. Then we have the sign, screw down crown. Thread action is just fine. It doesn't pop though. I mean, you can tell when it's out, but it doesn't do a nice pop like an NH35 or 34 does. But when you go to screw it back down, the threads catch right away and you don't feel any resistance. So it's nice thread action. Then we have a dome sapphire crystal, and it does have an AR undercoat. As you can see, it does a great job of not reflecting. I really like this crystal. You only really see a real reflection when it's directly over the light. So that's really nice. I think they did a good job there. I really do like a sapphire crystal with good AR coating where you can see through it and it looks like it's hardly there. Then we have the case. The case is nice too. We have brushed sides, brushed tops, but we have a polished chamfered edge. And they did a good job with the case. And then we have the case back. The case back is a screw down, not a display case back. Personally, I'm fine with that because Seiko and Miyota movements are great movements, but they're just not very pretty. And you've seen one, you've seen them all. Then it says Islander 150 meters, sapphire. Then it repeats it. And of course, that's the lighthouse on Long Island and the Islander logo right there. Underneath the case back is the star of the show, the Miyota 9075. This is Miyota's answer to the Seiko NH34. This is a much better movement than the NH34. Of course, it's much more expensive though, so you don't see a lot of them, unlike the NH34, which has become quite common now. This is a 4 Hertz movement because it's part of the 9000 series. The 8000 series is 3 Hertz. And I don't know how many joules, but it does have a unidirectional rotor because that's common for Miyota. And I'm not sure the power reserve, but it does hand wind and it does hack. And once again, the main appeal of this is it's a True Traveler's GMT watch. You put the crown in the second position here and you move the hour hand. So when you're traveling and you switch time zones, you can easily change the hour. As you can see, the second hand is still moving. You don't hack the watch. So the minute hand and the second hand are going on like nothing's happening. So that's just great. So you can easily set the time. Now, one sacrifice for this gets rid of your quick set date. So if you want to go on to the next date, you have to go all the way around twice, and it goes to 24. And it works backwards though. See, it goes in both directions. So in all honesty, the most you're ever going to have to go is 15 days. And they go pretty quickly. So even though it doesn't have quick set date, it will not take you that long to set the date, even if it's 15 days off. So I've never had one of these before. This is the main reason why I wanted to review this watch. So let's go ahead and put on the Timegrapher and see how it's doing. This will be a first for me. Here it is on the Timegrapher. As you can see, it's running 2 to 3 seconds fast. So that's just great. It's always nice when a watch is running fast and not slow, especially a hacking watch, because you can just hack the watch and wait for time to catch up when it drifts enough where you have to reset it. But +1, +2, +3, that's great. But look at that beat error though. We got 0.6 milliseconds. That's why you see 2 lines on the screen. Amplitude seems fine. So this watch is running great. It's just got some beat error to it. Then we have the bracelet. The bracelet has solid inverted end links. And Mark calls this a beads of rice bracelet. And I guess technically it is, but it seems more like a J-style bracelet that was cut to look like a beads of rice than an actual beads of rice. We do have screw pin adjusters and not push pins. Personally, I prefer push pins, but I was able, at least the heads are plenty big. And it did come with a screwdriver. Of course, I didn't use the screwdriver because I got plenty of my own. And I removed 2 links. Then we have the clasp. The clasp is kind of a disappointment. Yeah, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It has a milled lower, pressed upper, and it does the job. It just doesn't seem premium. And when the watch is over $500, you just kind of expect a little bit better clasp than this. Like I said, it's not a bad clasp. It's just not a great one either. But it does have 4 holes of micro adjust, so you can get the good fit. It's just, once again, watches in this price range, on-the-fly adjustment is becoming quite common. And it would have been nice if we had some on-the-fly there. But once again, this is the most expensive Islander he's ever produced. So he had to keep the cost down somehow. And so he probably did it with the clasp. And that's, if he had a better clasp, and then maybe this watch would be over 600 bucks. So it's understandable, but just once again, a little disappointing there. I think if I was to keep this watch, which I don't get to keep, I would probably replace the clasp. Here is the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. That looks really nice. That wears really nice. Even though this is a GMT watch, it's not that thick. 13 millimeters for a GMT is pretty good. I removed 2 links though. And then I moved it in 1 micro adjust. So if your wrist is much bigger than 8, you might have to ask for some more links. I'm sure that they would accommodate you. That's one nice thing about dealing with Island Watch. You get to deal with the people personally. So if you order this watch and ask for some extra links, I'm sure they will give you some. But yeah, that wears really nice. I like this watch. Here we are in the Lume room. Islander watches are known for having good lume, and I have high hopes for this test. As we speed up the time, we have a fully lume bezel with BGW9. The GMT hand is the same color. The rest of the watch is green C3, including the Islander name and logo. Unfortunately, all of the bezel except for the pip is just about gone. The GMT hand is keeping up with the pip. The hands and indices are doing pretty good, as you can still see them, except for the second hand, which has gone the way of the logo. It would have been nice if the minute hand was as good as the pip, but this is good lume, but not awesome. What I like about this watch? Well, it has a Miyota 9075 True Traveler's GMT movement that's running 2 seconds fast. That's really accurate. I really like this AR coated crystal. It does a really good job of not reflecting and looks nice. I like the fact that this GMT watch has a true GMT bezel, which is bidirectional. Many GMT watches have a unidirectional bezel because they share it with their dive watch counterparts. And did I mention that it has the Miyota 9075? What are my gripes and groans? These minute markers are so small, and it makes it really hard to distinguish between the minutes and the half minutes. So it's really hard to set the watch if you're not on the 5s. The clasp is very underwhelming and basic. Really not a clasp for a $500+ watch. And the bezel Lume just seems to be kind of a disappointment. Yes, I know a Rolex GMT Master 2 doesn't have any Lume at all on the bezel. And so the Lume is a bonus, but still, it's not very good bezel Lume, other than the pip, of course. Do I recommend this watch? Yes, this watch is awesome. You're getting a true traveler's GMT watch for about half of what used to be the most affordable option. And it looks great too. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Islander ISL 248 Port Jefferson, and I will be back with another review. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. And if you like this watch, I'll leave a link to Island Watch and you can buy it. I do not have an affiliate link, so I do not get any commission or anything, but that's the only place to get it. Plus, if you do get it from Island Watch, tell them you saw it on Fun with Watches, and maybe Mark will send me more watches in the future. Thanks. Bye.